You're listening to WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. You're listening to music local and sustainable, and I'm your host, Dave Lake. Tonight we have singer-songwriter Thomas Oliver. The other song that really resonates, I think, is Though I Might Have.
Okay. I've spent more than one night where they lock you up inside. I'm not bragging or complaining, just I got nothing left to hide. So I'm not gonna tell you any lies, though I might have once upon a time. Well, it wasn't that long ago, I didn't know up from down. I might have sworn I'd been to the planet Mars or a survivor of Jonestown. But I'm not gonna feed you any lies, though I might have once upon a time. I'm not proud of all I've done to reach this point in life, but I've lived long and hard enough to tell the darkness from the light. And if I played liar's poker, I'd lose every hand, drawing to an inside straight, just like Custer's last stand. But I'm not looking to start any fight, though I might have once upon a time. I can't drink beer or liquor, had to give up cigarettes, but there's a lady who loves me, so I consider myself blessed. And I don't worry about what I did last night, though I might have once upon a time. When you wrestled with the devil, contemplated your own death, life's a whole lot sweeter if you can forgive and forget. Yeah, I've spent my last night where they lock you up inside, 'cause there's a lady who loves me, and now she lies by my side. And I don't worry about what I did last night, though I might have once upon a time. No, I don't worry about what I did last night, though I might have once upon a time. Yeah, I might have once upon a time.
This seems awfully autobiographical.
It is. It is. One of the reasons I included it was because I was sort of saying, well, I got Getaway Smile, which is totally fictional, and I got Though I Might Have, which is not totally, but very autobiographical. I've spent more than one night where they lock you up inside. If you're a recovering alcoholic, you find yourself in more than one kind of place where they lock you up. One's a jail, which is the obvious one, but the other one that is not known in the song, but is what I'm referring to, is when you go to dry out. When your employee says, you know, you got to go to Ridgeview, and they lock the doors. So I've spent more than one night where they lock you up inside. So yes, that part, you know, having to can't drink beer or liquor and had to give up cigarettes is obviously true. Found somebody that saved my life, which is a lady who loves me. Always, and once upon a time in a different life, had a bad tempered. Got my skinny little butt beat more often than I should have. And one of the chief characteristics of an alcoholic is being a liar. So it's pretty much there.
Yeah, in the context of the liar, one of the lines that really resonates is, "I didn't know up from down. I might have sworn I'd been to the planet Mars or survival of Jonestown."
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of characterizing it, if I do say so myself.
But the whole song is reflected because, though I might have done that, I won't do that now.
Right, exactly. I don't have to worry about how I spent last night, though I might have once upon a time. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
One of the other lines that really resonates is, "When you've wrestled with the devil and contemplated your own death."
Yeah. I don't think anybody who's been in the depths of addiction would describe it much differently, especially when you're getting to the bottom where you're finally realizing you want out, and there's more than one way to get out, and so you do contemplate your own death, and you are wrestling with the devil. You're literally deciding to live or die. So that's real. That's as real as it gets. And you have to decide, I don't want to die. I heard this saying one time in AA that just knocked me out of my chair. This guy said, "Dying isn't the worst part. Living and wishing you were dead is worse." And that's sort of where that came from. Been there, and I ain't going back.
Yeah, this song resonates on so many levels. The sense of addiction, which is in this case the autobiographical part,
right?
But it really explains every obsession and can be used to describe any obsession.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, one of the other lines that just resonates is, particularly in myself, I'm a little bit older, a little bit more mature. "I've lived long and hard enough to tell the darkness from the light." That's such a rich illusion.
Thank you. Yeah.
And again, pointing out that dichotomy and really you gotta live, and you gotta live hard to really recognize what is dark and what is light. Now, you think you might have an inkling of this.
Yes.
But trust me, you don't.
Yes. Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, one of you're hitting on all of the cylinders that this song has, and one of the things that I like about it is that it has almost a particularly with the melody underpinning it, it has almost a little jaunting, little lively, little fun song. It starts out, you don't know if I've spent more than one night where they lock you up inside. The way it's presented, I don't think it doesn't have any kind of dark feel to it, and the liar's poker and the joking about I could have been to the planet Mars. There's a sort of a frivolous kind of first read. It's only once you've gone through the whole song you realize it's a very serious song, but it doesn't feel that way upon first hearing it. And when I like that a lot. There are some songwriters that I really admire that have a way of doing that. It seems almost with all their stuff, where you're like, wow, that was a fun song to hear and play. Now that I'm really looking at it and reading it, there's some stuff here. Yeah.
Or hear it again.
Yes.
When you're in a different mood.
Yes.
Often a song can have a completely different meaning.
Yes.
When you're in a different mood.
Yes. So I think that, again, going back to how different people react to the same song, you're right. I mean, depending on what mood you were in and what you were picking up on, and you don't hear everything the first time, you could think that this is sort of me making fun of, getting thrown in jail and drinking too much, or wow. And sometimes again people don't realize. I mean, especially if I did those songs back to back, Getaway Smile, clearly completely made up. Then you go to Though I Might Have, and you're like, is that autobiographical? Is that true? What So and we all do that with all the singer-songwriters that we like. You're wondering, is that about them? Or, and I think that's the great mystery, and it lends itself to letting you bring your own person to the song, because you don't always know. You can assume, and that's okay, even if you're wrong. If you'd assumed that had been autobiographical, I said, I made it all up. It doesn't really change what you are getting from it as a listener. Now, it may have been as an interviewer, because you're like, oh, well, I was hoping you were going to tell me about how many times you'd been in jail, kind of thing, But in terms of just how you would bring yourself to another person's song and interpret that to being, well, he must have, like Johnny Cash must have been in Folsom Prison, Well, he wasn't. But that doesn't change it being one of the most iconic songs of the 20th century, But he sang it like that, Same thing with, some of the other guys. So that's the great thing about music.
Well, I mean, the Getaway Smile. Now that I know that Melissa's from Clearwater, Florida, I don't have to ask if she's from Santa Fe. Or she's ever lived in Seattle.
Right, no. But, Santa Fe, we had actually just been to Santa Fe, so that's how that got there. When I was writing that first draft of that song, I had the red clay of Georgia and all sorts of stuff. It's just real interesting sometimes for me, myself, to go back and look at how songs evolved. And it started out this way, and then I would switch. But I can only switch when I set it aside. I'm not good enough or know how to be working on something. Oh, no, I'll go over here and then write it there. I just have to go, this isn't working. I'm going to leave it for a while and come back to it. And, that, again, that just from a personal point, those are the ones that are so satisfying when you recognize it's got the germ, the idea, love that first few lines, but I'm not taking it where it wants to go. I had, 20 years ago, I wouldn't have had the patience. I would have had to, this is it, and I'm not fixing it. But now, being older and wiser, and used to the passage of time and what it can do beneficially, except for my hair, to be able to set stuff aside and then come back to it and make it work is really gratifying, and then it makes it less intimidating because you don't have to finish it. Blue Lights will be one of those that will always, I won't live long enough to forget how that happened and how much it meant to just wait for that last little gear to mesh in and to turn the wheel, and it was like, bam, wow.
Because fortunately you're in the circumstance now where you can simply let the muse arise.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'd be demanding I guess you would call it a prequel to that song, to Getaway Smile, because I'd like to know why the guy had to leave Atlanta. And I also want to know what her life was like in Santa Fe before she came. And then the sequel, too, because I'd like to know what happened to her in Seattle.
Yeah, well, those are ideas. I'll take that under consideration. Yeah. No, I'm glad you liked that. That was somebody else. I played it at the Jam the other night anticipating this, and someone sent me a Facebook message saying, where can I get a copy of that? So I was able to send them the link to the... So, I mean, again, that to me is like, the equivalent in another lifetime of having a sold-out auditorium. For some, you play something in the Jam and somebody says, can I get a copy of that? I really like that. Sure, here it is. Hope you enjoy it. It's like, all my music through CD Baby, the recorded produced stuff is, available on iTunes and Apple Music and Spotify and all that stuff. And so you get these accounting reports, and you probably have heard, how little artists are paid for streaming, which is true. But what I find interesting is that, like, you'll get these, 0.001. So that's a lot. That's a lot for a stream. But now that Apple Music is out there, so this a week or so ago, I was telling Melissa this, I get this thing from it says, Apple Music, Switzerland. And you can click and see what songs that they've done. So you don't even get a penny. Played 2 songs in Switzerland. Yay! But then the next line would be Apple Music, France. That's interesting. You click and see what song they're playing. And then it says Apple Music, rest of the world. And then I saw one on I had never heard of Yanix. That was a new distributor, so I was like, well, okay, who's Yanix? Yanix is the streaming thing in Russia. Especially if they do more in stream when they, people buy the stuff and you don't know who they are. But, there's somebody in France, there's somebody in Belgium that bought this song. You don't make any money off of it, but it is interesting, and if nothing else, it's just sort of a party chatter to be able to say, yeah, my music is out there, somebody has heard it, somebody is still listening to it. Who knows how they're receiving it, or if there's some guy in Belgium who, God, this Thomas Oliver, he's great. You need to listen to this, I don't know how any of that works, but I do think it's a cool little thing. Again, if I get $100 every 3 years from it, that's a lot. But it's interesting to see the songs that are playing out there and where they're playing. And very, very seldom do you hear from those people. But that's okay too. It's sort of like throwing it out there.
Well, I can see someone from France, particularly, this is a stereotype, but somebody from France hearing Ballad of Tybee Island and needing to come here to see this complexity.
Yeah, maybe.
So it may be useful for bringing tourists. Now, how often do you get a chance to get out and play? You mentioned being at the Jam the other night.
Well, in terms of like gigging at places for paid gigs, I guess if we look back at last season was a real drop-off, and I did it intentionally because I just got tired. The worst part about the music business is trying to get a gig. It's like you have to become a salesperson. And I'm a poet. I'm not a very good salesperson. And while I've enjoyed this discussion, calling somebody Cole and basically saying, I'm really good and you need to pay me to come play for you is not something I find easily done. I'd much rather do it by email, send you an electronic press kit. And that was really how I started getting gigs out when I was in Atlanta. I didn't have to make that call. I could send them and might have to talk to them eventually, but basically you could book without having to become personally selling yourself, which, the cats that play all the time around Savannah, I can guarantee they are salespeople. Make no mistake about it, they're out there hustling and pushing because they're having to do it for a living. I don't, so the incentive is less, and I just got where I just hated that part so much. I just said, I'm going to make inquiries, but I'm not going to beg, which is what you really have to do. So I guess we ended up doing maybe, if we were doing twice a month, that was pretty good. Now that whole, quote, booking season is right upon us, and I'm like, throw a few queries out and see. People from last year will give me a couple of bookings, and so, I play with a guy, Chip Zulliger, who's here on the island most of the time, and of course he wants to play out more than I do, so at least I try to keep him satisfied. But I played at the Basil's on Wilmington and Molly's on Wilmington mostly last year. I played down there on Top Breeze at Bernie's 2 or 3 years ago. We probably played there 30 times in the summer. but things change, people change, I change. I don't really enjoy, particularly given my, as we've discussed, my recovery status. While I don't mind people drinking, my wife drinks wine every night. I don't really like people who are drunk. I don't like being around them. I just, that's my privilege. And so playing in bars like the band starts at 10 o'clock and plays to 2, I'm over that. I wouldn't take that gig if you gave it to me. I don't want to do it. I went to see one of my bands last week that I like that was playing in such a place like that, and I'm like, not for me. It's too late, it's too loud, it's too young. I mean, I'm trying to be realistic. I don't think of my age much, but I do recognize that certain venues there's a reason why the crowd is 30s, and there's a reason why the band's under 40. And I would feel not good playing in that environment because I wouldn't feel like I was connecting or delivering like I should for the venue. So I'm good with that because I really don't. I played 2 or 3 years ago. I played some places where you started at 10 and finished at 2, and it was so loud, and you're just like sitting there looking at your clock at 1 o'clock going, is this ever going to end? Well, I don't want to do that. I'm not doing this for a living. I'm doing this for nothing but pure pleasure. If I'm sitting up here going, I'll be glad when this is over, then I don't want to do it again. I mean, keep it simple, stupid. If you're not having fun, don't do that. So just in that little blathering I've been doing here, that just really limits where I can play. If I'm not willing to do this and I'm not willing to do that and I'm not going to play here, then Basil's Pizza Bar and Pizza in Wilmington and Molly's, because they're all ending at 10. That's my kind of place. I can play from 7 to 10 or whatever, but, starting at 10, North Beach Grill, those kind of places we played and enjoy. They're great environments. You get to do your thing. People can appreciate it. They're there for the music where you're located. If you're playing outside of North Beach, you're coming to eat, but if you're eating outside, you're getting into the music. Basil's, Molly's, you play on at the gazebo. Molly McGuire's built a new place now out thing for music to expand their music thing. I would hope that there are, but they're not, more places just for a singer-songwriter to play as a singer-songwriter, but there just really aren't. There's a connection with what I just said to the fact that I created a song blog. The outlets were becoming either self-limiting, or I just was like, I'm tired of chasing that, but I still need an outlet for my songs. I still need that, so I still need to play out some, and will.
So a couple of times a month, that meets your needs?
Yeah. And I do Savannah Songwriters, maybe 3 or 4 times a year. So, every 3 or 4 months I'm going to book myself. So that helps.
We are, I think, going to have to talk to that executive director of Tybee Post Theater and get you performing out here, too. Of course, now we're coming to the end of the second show with Thomas Oliver, and I haven't played one of my favorites, Edge of America. Here is Edge of America from the album of the same name.
At the end of the road, the edge of America, watching the tide roll in under a setting sun. That old 78, a mighty long highway, running past cotton fields, old men will have to beg. And when the morning comes, I might just be right here, watching the sun come up over the edge of America. high top bar and grill is right down the road. There you just might meet your next true love. And while I'm waiting, I'll drink a few more beers, try to wash away the taste of a lover's tears. When the morning comes, might just be right here, wondering where my love is at the end of America. Run as far as I can run to the edge of America. She always loved the beat, and she would like it here. Not much going on, just some fishing off the pier. They got low country boy, proud Mary Blair. They got places you can stay till you get your bearings. And when the morning comes, I might just be right here, waiting for the coast to clear at the end of America. Run as far as I can run to the edge of America. Waiting for the coast to clear at the edge of America. Wondering where my love is at the end of America. Watching the sun come up over the edge of America. America. America.
I've run way over the time I
It feels
allotted for
like
you.
I just haven't shut up.
No, this has been absolutely wonderful to have a chance to talk with you. And so I want to really thank Thomas Oliver for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it. Hope I hadn't said too much.
No, it's absolutely super. Absolutely super. This has been another edition of Music Local and Sustainable, and I've been your host, Dave Lake. Save this time for another show next week.
Well, I know we ain't headed for the Hall of Fame. Gonna give it what we got, man, that ain't no shame. Let me know